My original idea was to make miso barbecue carrots, and I'm going to make miso barbecue carrots because I want you to see how to use miso to make a barbecue, which maybe you haven't done so far. And then at the market, I saw some amazing mushrooms. They're in the oyster mushroom family, but they're called the king trumpet mushrooms. I was going to do chicken with this, but then when I saw the mushrooms, I said, you know what? I can almost make this vegetarian. And I could just by simply swapping out 2 different ingredients, but we'll get into that as I cook it. So this is about as international as it gets here, even in South Florida. This is called Food Town. You just can leave all your preconceived notions about going to a grocery store in the United States, unless maybe you're in New York or Los Angeles, when you come to this place, because case in point, right now I'm looking at the last turtle that would be available to me. And next door we have some live frogs. So if you're in a hankering to have turtle or frog, I don't think you can find it any better in all of South Florida than here at Food Town. Just looking across the way over there, I saw something that I have to check out. We are in the fruits and tubers area, and you're gonna see things like russet potatoes for baked potatoes and red potatoes, new potatoes, and then the shallots. But then you're gonna come over here and you're gonna see what's called jackfruit, which is the world's largest tree fruit. This fruit grows on trees. I've seen it growing on trees in Hawaii. 50, 60, 80 pounds of fruit. You can imagine when these things fall off a tree, a cow does not want to be underneath this. But check it out. That is heavy. These are cut up jackfruit right here. This fruit sometimes is called the juicy fruit because people think that its flavor is reminiscent of the gum, juicy fruit. This is my education. My education as a chef comes from being in places like this. It's not, I didn't go to cooking school, and they wouldn't have taught this anyway in cooking school, honestly. So I would come to Caribbean markets starting off in Key West, and I'd see things like this. We're over here, Malanga, and I'd have no idea. And so I would speak to the people that worked there or the people that were shopping there and say, what do you guys do with this stuff? And that's where my cuisine began to branch out. It didn't branch out because of books. It didn't branch out because of school. It branched out by coming to markets like this. And so even though I've been doing this for this many years, it's my everyday education. That's what I mean. When I come to a place like this, I don't come in completely canned like I know everything I want, because that would be a shame. I want to find out what they've got and then have some fun. So I'm gonna get some miso, and then I'm gonna go down there. I know they've got some beautiful noodles. So I'm gonna get some noodles, and further down, some mushrooms. So this will complete kind of the idea I've got sketched in my head right now. But you know, I mean, who knows? Just bring a cooler and have yourself a time. All right, let's start off with cooking the carrots. Cooking the carrots means also cooking some shallots. Some pure olive oil. I oftentimes use a combination of fats. In this case, the olive oil and some sweet butter. I'm on a medium-high heat here. Go ahead and take these sliced shallots, and they may look like a lot, but they're gonna cook down just like they would if they were caramelized onions. Just go ahead and get the shallots dressed, which is to say coated, in the combination of the olive oil and the butter. You wanna make sure you're on a good heat now, because we're going to wanna make these carrots break down. I'm gonna take some pepper and some kosher salt, which is my salt of choice. 98% of the time I'm using kosher salt. And let these begin to break down before we add the carrots. Now, while that's happening, come over here and begin to put together the miso barbecue sauce. Now, you could look down here and go, wow, there's a lot of ingredients down there, really. Really not that many. Maybe because they're a little unusual, they may look like more. But you look at a barbecue recipe, and a lot of times you're going to see 8, 10, 12 ingredients. So let's go ahead and get into it. Kit Menis. This is a very sweet soy product, and you can see it looks like molasses. And it's what's going to give our barbecue sauce a fair amount of that sweet nature that you expect from a barbecue sauce. Another kind of sweetness comes in the form of honey. You may wonder, why 2 different kinds of sweetness? I use 2 different kinds of vinegar sometimes, or 2 different kinds of acid sometimes. I'll use 2 different kinds of salt sometimes. I'll use 2 different kinds of chilies sometimes, because they're not exactly the same. They're sort of partners in the way they perform, but they're not the same thing. Against that sweetness, we have spice in the form of sambal oelek, which you may recognize from that jar right there that you can see in almost any kind of a grocery store. This makes this not vegetarian, and it's a something you can use or not use, and it's called fish sauce. That's fish sauce right there. And then we have, actually that's fish sauce, that was tamari. This is yuzu kosho, K-O-S-H-O. Yuzu, you might be familiar with that word. Yuzu is a Asian citrus, and it has this kind of amazing fragrance, like a orange meets lemongrass meets ginger maybe. And so that's part of it. Now we can begin to mix things up. Yuzu kosho. You'll probably have to order that online unless you have an amazing Asian market by you. That is the miso itself. I'm going to stir that in a moment, but before I do, I'm going to go ahead and add in the ginger. Now I'm going to break up this miso. There are different kinds of miso, and what we're using today, it's not white in color, but it's known as a white miso, and it is the least salty of them. And so I prefer that for what I'm doing today. Miso is ancient, and it adds umami heft and a memorable sort of taste profile to it. See how it looks like a barbecue sauce? Pretty much, a little bit less ketchup-y red. Once that's mixed up, you have sweet, pungent. I wouldn't call it particularly spicy, although now I am tasting that sambal oelek kind of follow through, which is what you want. You want flavors that travel. I want food that doesn't go dot dot, I'm done, I'm over it, I'm out of here. No, I want flavors that are going to take you on a ride. So we have our miso barbecue, which actually I already made some. It's right here. So we're gonna let those flavors marry for the next time we're cooking something like this. Now, the shallots have been cooking while we've been talking. Let's go back over there. Starting to get some nice color. We got the salt and pepper already on them. Now I've got a fair amount of carrots here. I may not take them all, but I'd rather have more than I need than not enough. And I'm gonna go ahead and put those in our pot and stir them to get the shallots all over them. So we're working on a pretty good heat here, and that's what we want. We want to continue to break down these carrots. Okay, let's come back over here to our cutting board and to the mushrooms. So coming to a market like this, whether I'm in New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, or here in the town of Davie, I'm going to decide what I'm going to cook based on what they have. And mushrooms was in my mind, but I didn't know what kind of mushrooms they would have. These are king oyster mushrooms. Look at these things. Maybe you're familiar, but if not, they are very simple to cook and they look extraordinary on a plate. And so, yeah, I just changed my recipe just based on the fact that these things are here. So I'm going to load up on some of these, and this is lotus root. Maybe when we're cooking together, you're going to see what this looks like on the inside, because it looks like it was chiseled by some artisan craftsman carpenter. Doesn't look like that right now, but wait till you see what's on the inside. As I said, these mushrooms are in the oyster mushroom family. They are called the king trumpet. And if you look at them and maybe you use your imagination, you can see how to some this could look like a trumpet. And